Welcome, dear wizard. Before we begin tonight's magical tale, I invite you to settle into a calm and comfortable space. Dim the lights, take a slow breath, and let the soft sounds around you fade into the background. This is your moment to unwind, relax, and drift into the gentle magic of the wizarding world. Tonight's story follows a young witch who visits Ollivander's wand shop to receive her first wand, but instead of an ordinary match, she is chosen by a rare and mysterious wand unlike any ever seen. If you enjoy these cozy bedtime stories from Hogwarts, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps the magic reach even more listeners who need a peaceful escape. The Wand of Echoes. The bell above the door chimed with a sound like distant silver bells as Alara Moss stepped into Ollivander's wand shop for the first time. The sound seemed to linger in the air longer than it should have, as if the shop itself was taking measure of her, deciding whether she belonged. Outside, Diagon Alley bustled with the usual chaos of late August, parents dragging reluctant children past shop windows, owls hooting from the Elop's Owl Emporium, the sweet scent of sugar quills drifting from the confectionery. But inside Ollivander's, all that noise fell away, replaced by a profound stillness that felt almost sacred. Alara had imagined this moment 1,000 times. Every night for the past month, she'd lain awake in her small bedroom in the cottage on the moors, picturing what it would be like to hold her very own wand, to finally truly belong to the magical world that had always felt just slightly out of reach, even though magic ran through her veins as surely as blood. The shop was exactly as her mother had described it, narrow and shabby, with peeling gold letters on the window and thousands upon thousands of long, narrow boxes stacked to the ceiling. Dust motes danced in the thin shafts of afternoon light that managed to penetrate the gloom, creating constellations in the air. The smell was peculiar: old parchment, polished wood, and something else, something indefinable that made the hair on Alara's arms stand up. It smelled like possibility. "Good afternoon." Alara startled. She hadn't heard anyone approach, yet there he was, Mr. Ollivander himself, emerging from between the towering shelves like a ghost materializing from mist. He was older than she'd expected, though she supposed he'd always been old. His silvery eyes were wide and slightly unsettling, seeming to look not at her, but into her, reading things she hadn't even written yet. Alara managed, her voice smaller. "Ah, yes, another first year. How delightful." Ollivander's smile was gentle, but those eyes remained intense, cataloging. "And you are?" "Alara Moss, sir." "Moss," he repeated, tasting the name. "Your mother was Rosalind Moss, née Whitmore, ash, 9 inches, unicorn hair, surprisingly swishy. And your father, non-magical, if I recall." "Yes, sir." Alara felt her cheeks warm. Being half and half, always made her feel like she had to prove herself twice as hard. Ollivander circled her slowly, his fingers steepled beneath his chin. Interesting combination, magic and mundane, the old and the new, the expected and the... He paused, tilting his head as if hearing something she could not. Unexpected. He swept away into the stacks, and Alara heard the sound of boxes sliding, wood tapping wood, the whisper of tissue paper. When he returned, he carried 3 boxes, which he set on the counter with reverence. Let us begin. 10 inches willow, dragon heartstring, give it a wave. Alara grasped the wand, smooth and cool in her palm, and gave it an experimental flick. A box on a nearby shelf exploded in a shower of splinters. No, definitely not. Ollivander snatched it back before she could do more damage. Try this. 9.5 inches, cherry, phoenix feather. This wand felt warm, almost too warm, like holding something feverish. When she waved it, a jet of orange sparks shot out, ricocheted off 3 walls, and set a pile of parchment smoldering. Dear me, Ollivander muttered, hastily extinguishing the flames with a casual wave of his own wand. Not that one either. And so it went, wand after wand, each proving more unsuitable than the last. One made all the lights in the shop go out. Another caused Alara's hair to stand on end and crackle with static. A third emitted a sound like a screaming tea kettle that didn't stop until Ollivander locked it back in its box. After the 15th failed attempt, Ollivander stood very still, his expression shifting from puzzled to intrigued to something that may would have been concerned. Most unusual, he murmured. Most unusual indeed. Is something wrong with me? Alara asked, trying to keep the tremor from her voice. Around her, the rejected wands lay in their opened boxes like accusations. Wrong? No, my dear. Quite the opposite, I think. Ollivander's eyes had taken on a distant quality, as if he were looking through her to something far beyond. You are simply particular. Some witches and wizards are, you know. The wand chooses the wizard, Miss Moss, and it appears that most of my wands find you insufficient. Insufficient. The word stung. For them, Ollivander clarified quickly. You're too much for them, not too little. Too bright, perhaps. Too complex. Like trying to pour the ocean into a teacup. He tapped his fingers against his lips, thinking, there is, but no, it's been so long, I'd nearly forgotten. He disappeared into the very back of the shop, into shadows so deep that Alara lost sight of him completely. She heard sounds, the scrape of something heavy being moved, a click like a lock opening, a long, low note that might have been singing or might have been the wind, if wind could sound purposeful. When Ollivander returned, he carried a single box, but this one was different. It wasn't the usual light-colored wood with simple labels. This box was black as a starless night, and its surface seemed to shift and shimmer like oil on water. No label adorned it. No dust had settled on its lid. "I made this wand 47 years ago," Ollivander said quietly, setting the box on the counter with a care that bordered on reverence. "I was younger then, more ambitious, more foolish, some might say. I'd acquired a hair, just one, mind you, from a thestral. Do you know what a thestral is, Miss Moss?" Alara nodded. Her mother had told her stories. Skeletal horses, visible only to those who had witnessed death, creatures of endings and new beginnings, of the veil between worlds. Thestral hair is extraordinarily rare as a wand core, Ollivander continued. Most wand makers won't touch it. Too unpredictable, they say. Too dark. But I was curious, you see, and curiosity has always been both my greatest strength and my most dangerous flaw. He smiled faintly. I combined the thestral hair with elder wood, the wood of the elder wand itself, though this came from a different tree naturally and created something unprecedented. He opened the box with a slow, deliberate motion. The wand that lay within took Alara's breath away. It was beautiful and terrible in equal measure. The wood was pale, almost white, with a grain that seemed to shift when you looked at it directly, like clouds moving across a winter sky. The handle was carved with intricate patterns, not quite runes, not quite pictures, but something in between that seemed to tell a story without words. And along its length ran lines of silver that caught the light and held it, making the wand seem to glow from within. But what struck Alara most was the feeling that emanated from it. Most of the wands she'd tried had felt inert until she'd grasped them, like sleeping things waiting to be woken. This wand felt awake, alert, aware. It felt like it was watching her. 14 inches, Ollivander said softly, rigid, unyielding almost. I've never found a witch or wizard it deemed worthy. It has refused every person who's tried to claim it. Eventually, I stopped trying to match it, stopped even thinking of it as a wand I might sell. I kept it here out of. He paused, searching for the word. Respect, I suppose, and perhaps a hope that one day the right person would walk through that door. Alara stared at the wand, and the wand seemed to stare back. Would you like to try? Ollivander asked, though his tone suggested he already knew her answer. Alara reached out slowly, her hand trembling slightly. The moment her fingers touched the wood, everything changed. The shop vanished. Alara found herself standing in a vast empty space that defied description. It wasn't dark exactly, but it wasn't light either. It was the color of twilight, of the moment between day and night when the world holds its breath. Beneath her feet was something that might have been ground or might have been sky, solid enough to stand on, but transparent, showing infinite depths below, and she was not alone. Figures surrounded her, transparent and shimmering like heat haze. Dozens of them, hundreds. They stood in concentric circles, all facing her. And as Alara looked at them, she understood with a shock that made her heart skip a beat. These were people, or rather, they had been. "Don't be afraid," a voice said, and Alara turned to see a woman standing closest to her. She was young, perhaps 20, with kind eyes and dark hair that floated around her face as if she were underwater. "We won't hurt you." "Where am I?" Alara whispered. "Who are you?" "We are echoes," the woman said. "Memories given form. I am, or I was, Catherine Ravencroft. I died in 1952, during the last days of Grindelwald's terror. I was 17. Other figures stepped forward, each introducing themselves. A man who'd hid in a dragon attack, a witch who'd perished from a cursed wound, a wizard who'd succumbed to dragon pox. On and on, a litany of names and deaths, each one marking an ending that had come too soon. "The wand remembers," Catherine explained, seeing Alara's confusion. "The thestral hair, at its core, carries an echo of everyone whose death the wand's maker has witnessed. Mr. Ollivander has lived a long life. He's seen much sorrow, much loss. We are all here, all part of the wand's power." "But why?" Alara asked. "Why show me this?" "Because the wand must know if you are worthy." An older man stepped forward now, his bearing regal despite his spectral form. "I am Alderic Selwyn. I died trying to claim this wand many years ago. I thought myself powerful, deserving, but power is not what this wand seeks."
"Then what does it seek?"
The figures looked at each other, and Catherine smiled sadly. "Understanding, acceptance, the courage to witness pain and not look away. This wand is made of endings, young one. To wield it, you must not fear death, not your own and not others. You must be able to stand at the threshold between life and death and not be paralyzed by fear." "That's the trial?" Alara asked, her voice steadying. "To not be afraid?" "No," Catherine said gently. "Fear is human, necessary even. The trial is to be afraid and to act anyway, to see the darkness and still choose to bring light, to witness loss and still believe in hope." The space around them began to change, the twilight deepening to true darkness, and in that darkness, images began to appear, like memories playing on an invisible screen. Alara saw a battlefield, bodies strewn across trampled ground. She saw a hospital room where a child took their last breath while parents wept. She saw an old woman dying alone, calling for children who would never come. She saw accidents and illnesses, murders and sacrifices, all the 1,000 ways that life came to an end. Each image was a knife, cutting into her heart. Alara wanted to look away, to close her eyes, to escape back to the safety of the shop and forget she'd ever seen this wand. But something made her keep watching. Some deep instinct told her that looking away would be the real failure. These people, these echoes had died. That was truth, immutable and final. But they had also lived. Each death was preceded by a life, by choices and loves and small moments of joy that had mattered, even if they were gone now. I see you, Alara whispered to the images, to the echoes, to the vast weight of mortality pressing in on her from all sides. I see you, and I remember. The darkness began to lift slowly, like fog burning away in morning light. The echoes of the dead drew closer, forming a circle around Alara, and one by one, they reached out to touch her, gentle, gossamer touches that felt like blessings. You have witnessed, Catherine said, and her voice was full of warmth. You have seen death and not turned away. You have acknowledged our endings while honoring our existence. That is the first truth the wand requires. The first truth, Alara echoed. There's more. In answer, the scene shifted again. Alara found herself looking at her own memories. She saw herself at 6 years old, standing in her father's garden, watching a bird that had flown into their window. It lay on the ground, its neck broken, eyes already glazing over. Her father had wanted to simply dispose of it, to shield her from the unpleasantness, but Alara had insisted they bury it properly. She dug a small hole herself, placed the bird carefully inside, and spent 20 minutes arranging flowers over the grave. I'm sorry you died, her 6-year-old self had whispered. Thank you for being beautiful when you were alive. The memory shifted. She was 9 now. At her grandmother's funeral, all the adults around her were telling her to be brave, to not cry, to remember that her grandmother is in a better place. But Alara had looked at the bag and felt only anger. Anger that her grandmother was gone, that she'd never again hear her laugh or smell her perfume or listen to her stories. It's not fair, young Alara had said to her mother. Everyone keeps saying it's okay, but it's not. She's gone, and that's not okay. Her mother had looked shocked, then sad, and finally understanding. You're right, she'd said quietly. It's not okay. It's terrible. And it's also true. Both things can exist at once. More memories, finding a cat hit by a car and staying with it until it died so it wouldn't be alone. Crying over a dead fox she'd found in the woods, even though everyone said foxes were pests. Visiting the local cemetery and leaving flowers on graves that had no recent visitors, because someone should remember. The second truth, Catherine's voice came from everywhere and nowhere, is that you've always seen us, the dead, the dying, the forgotten. You've never looked away, not from cruelty or convenience or fear. You acknowledge endings, even when it hurts. especially when it hurts. Alara felt tears streaming down her face. I just thought people should be remembered. Deaths should matter. Lives should matter. They do, Catherine assured her, and you're one of the rare ones who truly believes that, who acts on it. That's why the wand has waited for you. The twilight space began to brighten, becoming something more solid, more real. Alara found herself standing in a garden she'd never seen before, though it felt eerily familiar. It was beautiful, flowers in every color, blooming impossibly side by side, trees heavy with fruit, a sky overhead that shifted between day and night in gentle waves, and in the center of the garden stood a mirror. The final truth, Catherine said, appearing beside Alara one last time. Look into the mirror and tell me what you see. Alara approached the mirror reluctantly. She expected to see herself, or perhaps some twisted version of herself, or maybe some horror that would break her courage. Instead, she saw nothing. The mirror was empty, just a reflection of the garden behind her. There's nothing there. Look closer. Alara leaned in, studying the mirror's surface, and slowly, very slowly, she began to see it. Not images, but absences. The outline of where she should have been standing, the negative space that her body would have filled. She was there, but only as the shape of missing, as the definition of not present. Do you see what Catherine asked softly? And suddenly Alara did see. She understood. I'm going to die too, she whispered. Someday I won't be here anymore. I'll be one of the echoes. Yes, Catherine confirmed. That is the final truth, that you too are mortal. You too will end. Many people know this intellectually, but few truly accept it, truly feel it in their bones. To wield a wand made of death, you must acknowledge your own mortality. You must look at your own eventual absence and not despair. Alara stared at the empty mirror, at the space where she should have been. Her first instinct was fear, sharp and primal, the animal terror of non-existence. But she breathed through it, let it wash over her, and then recede like a wave pulling back from shore. She thought of the bird she'd buried at 6, the grandmother she'd mourned at 9, all the small deaths she'd witnessed and honored. If she could acknowledge their endings, could she not acknowledge her own? I will die, she said clearly, speaking to the mirror, to Catherine, to the waiting wand. One day, far from now, I hope, but inevitably, I will die. My story will end. But until then, I will live. I will see and remember. I will honor the dead and cherish the living. I will be present, even knowing that one day I'll be absent. The mirror shimmered, and suddenly her reflection appeared, not as she was now, but older. She saw herself at 20, at 40, at 70, the progression of years marking her face with lines and wisdom. And then finally, She saw herself fade, becoming transparent, like Catherine and the other echoes, until she was gone entirely, and only the garden remained. But the garden was more vibrant for her absence, she realized. The flowers bloomed brighter. The trees bore heavier fruit. Her life, lived fully and then ended, had enriched the world rather than diminished it. That, Catherine said, and there was joy in her voice, is what it means to be worthy of the wand of echoes. The garden dissolved, the twilight space faded, and Alara gasped as reality reasserted itself. She was back in Ollivander's shop, her hand still touching the wand on the counter. But now the wand felt different, warm and welcoming, thrumming with a power that felt like recognition, like coming home. Extraordinary, Ollivander breathed. He was staring at her with something like awe. You've been gone only 3 seconds, but I saw. He shook his head. No matter. Tell me, did the wand accept you? In answer, Alara lifted the wand from its box. The moment it left the velvet, light bloomed from its tip. Not the chaotic sparks or destructive bursts of the other wands, but a gentle, pearlescent glow that filled the shop with warmth. And within that light, just for a moment, Alara saw them, all the echoes, all the remembered dead, watching and approving. Oh my, Ollivander whispered. In 47 years, I've never seen it do that. It has truly chosen you, Miss Moss. The Wand of Echoes, Alara said softly, and somehow she knew that was its name, had always been its name. Yes, Ollivander nodded. It remembers the dead. Those who've witnessed death can wield it, but only those who've truly accepted death, both others and their own, can master it. It's a heavy burden, Miss Moss. This wand will show you things, remind you of things that others can ignore. You'll see thestrals, of course, but also you'll sense endings before they come. You'll know when someone is dying, when something is ending. You'll live always with the awareness of mortality. I know, Alara said, and she did. The wand had made sure of that. But I'll also live with the knowledge of how precious life is because of that mortality. Every moment will matter more, not less. Ollivander studied her for a long moment, then smiled, a genuine smile that reached his strange silver eyes. You're quite remarkable, Miss Moss. Take good care of that wand. More importantly, let it take care of you. It chose you for a reason. As Alara paid for the wand, 14 galleons, the most expensive wand in the shop, Ollivander said, though he seemed reluctant to charge her at all. She thought about what the wand maker had said. The wand had chosen her for a reason. But as she stepped back out into Diagon Alley, the wand safely tucked in her pocket, warm against her side, Alara understood that it was more than that. The wand hadn't just chosen her. In accepting the wand, in facing its trials, she had chosen herself. She had chosen to see clearly, to remember deeply, to honor endings while celebrating beginnings. She had chosen to be the kind of witch who didn't look away. The sun was setting over Diagon Alley, painting the crooked buildings in shades of gold and amber. Life bustled around her, witches and wizards going about their business, children shrieking with delight outside the joke shop, owls hooting a twilight chorus, and overlaying it all, visible only to her, were the gentle, shimmering outlines of those who'd come before, the echoes, not ghosts. They had moved on, but memories given form by the wand's unique magic. A witch who died 100 years ago, still window shopping. A wizard from the last century, laughing at something his living companion had said, though the living person couldn't see or hear him. They were everywhere, these echoes, these reminders of life and death existing side by side. And Alara felt no fear looking at them, only a deep, abiding respect. "Thank you," she whispered to Catherine, though the echo couldn't hear her here in the mundane world. "Thank you for the trial. Thank you for the truth." The wand pulsed with warmth in her pocket, its own form of acknowledgement. As Alara walked down Diagon Alley toward the leaky cauldron where her mother waited, she felt different. Not older, precisely, but deeper, more aware. She'd entered Ollivander's as a girl, anxious about her first wand. She emerged as a young witch who'd looked death in the face and learned to see it not as an ending, but as a teacher. The Wand of Echoes had given her a gift, the ability to honor every moment, every life, every ending and beginning. It was a heavy gift, yes, but also a precious one, and she would carry it well. Thank you for sharing this story with me tonight. I hope it left something quiet and kind inside your heart, like a soft blanket that will keep you warm until morning. May your sleep tonight be deep, peaceful, and completely free of worries. May you dream of quiet castle corridors, the scent of hot chocolate, and the gentle certainty that you are safe, you are home, and you are loved exactly as you are. You've already done enough today. Now you can let everything go and simply rest. Good night, my dear wizard. May you wake up tomorrow feeling light, rested, and quietly sure that everything is going to be okay. I'll be waiting for you in the next story.